Hello, I'm Callum Dilietto, and this is the second season of the Flock Together podcast in partnership with Oman Convention Bureau. And we're here at the Langham, and I'm joined by Stephen. How are you?
I'm well, Callum. How are you?
Very good.
Good.
The first time we ever met, we were on a trip in Scotland,
Yes.
and immediately I knew you were the kind of character I would want on a podcast.
Thank you, he says hesitantly.
Yeah, only because I think you're intelligent and opinionated and not afraid to say things that other people might be afraid to say. So it's all complimentary.
Well, I'll take it as such, and hopefully we can couch it with a bit of the Canadianism to make it come across as it's a nice thing.
There we go. All
There you
Canadians are lovely. Yeah.
I'd like to think so.
So the first part of the podcast
Yeah.
is quite apt for you. I think it's a letter to the industry. It's an opportunity for you to say whatever you want to the wider industry. What is your letter?
I think my letter is going to talk about twofold types of things. First one, as we first met, we talked about sustainability a lot, and the fact that a lot of the sustainability that apparently occurs in the industry is, from my vantage point, a lot of greenwashing, and that we need to do that properly. And the second piece is about data and actually putting together events and strategies that help inform the audience that's attending the actual event and not just the person that's organizing the event. It's a diverse group of people, and you have a lot of personalities that come, people that have different learning styles, people that have different ways that they like to consume their content. But we're constructing these events that are built for the people that are organizing them. Very much large, A-type personalities, big fireworks. What can we do different than last year and just make it bigger? As opposed to understanding who is actually attending the event, what are their preferences, and how do they want to learn and consume that content. If you think of how maybe when you went to school when you were younger, and you have different types of personalities. You have maybe the kid in school that's the joker, and then you have the one that's studious, and then you have the shy one, and then you have the troublemaker. But the teacher's only teaching in one particular way as best as they can adapt. And so the message isn't getting across to everybody. And we run events the same way. So we need to embrace the diversity of learning styles. We need to embrace how people like to consume their content differently and how it resonates more with them. Because if you can do that, then the data is going to show you're going to have a message that's going to be received a lot more. You're going to have a higher uptake in whatever that message is. Brand affinity is going to be a lot greater. A lot more benefits when people are actually being spoken to in a way that you wish to have them spoken to.
I am such an advocate for embedding psychology into events and understanding learning styles and understanding the way people absorb information differently. And I'm completely on board with that. And I think you're so right. There's a lot that, the education system is shifting and trying to maneuver to adapt to those different learning styles.
Yep.
And yet events still aren't. So we certainly should be kind of following suit in that.
We fly people around the world, which, whether you want to talk about that for sustainability or not, corporate events, you bring everybody into a room, turn off the lights, make it dark, doesn't matter where you are, and then one presenter presents the way that they wish to present. And you're losing so much of the audience. And the data is telling us, if you do it effectively, if you know who your audience is, if you can learn about them, then you're going to have a lot more effective event for people.
So at school, which kind of child were you?
Shall I say joker, comfortably? Yeah.
Joker / troublemaker, maybe?
Not troublemaker, actually. I was a child actor.
Ah.
Yes. So I wasn't actually in school as much, but when I was in school, I was more of the joker.
So the next part of the podcast is all about remembering. So first, I'd like you to remember your first ever work trip abroad.
So I'm originally from Toronto, and I was working for a sports organization there, the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Toronto Raptors. And my first trip from Toronto was to Grand Rapids, Michigan, on the bus of the hockey team, to be able to go watch them play and work with my counterparts in the business side of the business in Grand Rapids, called the Grand Rapids Griffins. So it's a very smallish city.
Yeah.
And it was my first time in that kind of experience of over the border, on a bus, 7-8 hours with a bunch of professional athletes. So it was me and my boss, and it was just a surreal experience of what that was like.
I feel like long coach rides are always particularly fun / challenging / a little bit chaotic, especially when there's lots of sporting people involved.
Very hierarchical. in how you need to be on the bus, what you need to wear on it. It actually taught me a lot, but it's a very sacred spot within in the sporting world as to how you need to be and who sits where in the bus and who talks to the coaches and the trainers. It's who gets to play the card games. Yeah. So I was just hands down reading a book. It was just a sales book. It was actually good to great. And so it was just a matter of being able to learn that in a different perspective of, okay, cross-border, first trip, what's this like?
And what about your most recent work trip abroad? Where was that?
I just got back last week from our office in Singapore. So that was, we get to meet some of our clients. We have an office that we've recently opened in the last year or so there. So meet the team members there a little bit more, doing some hiring. But it's, Grand Rapids to Singapore. Slightly different, 13-hour trip. We were able to stop in Doha for a couple of days on the way back and do a site visit for a client. So it's a completely different perspective as to what it brings us to going to Grand Rapids and spending a night at the Bob, which was a bar that had 5 different types of music on 5 different floors in Grand Rapids, to being able to go to Singapore and really enjoy the food and the people are just so accommodating there. It's a wonderful, wonderful place.
The food is something I most remember about Singapore. I was blown away by just the melting pot of all the different cuisines, and I just thought, like, my mouth is watering just thinking about it right now.
It is great. It really is great.
The next part of the podcast is about revisiting. So if you could revisit any destination, which one would it be?
I'm a fan of California, San Diego particularly. I think I'd want to go back to San Diego and experience it like I had the first time and what that was like. That was really unique. Just the weather, being a sports fan, getting to see the Padres play, outdoor stadiums, that sort of thing. It's not necessarily particularly glamorous. It's not the far-flung destination. I've been fortunate enough to travel to, everywhere from Australia to Japan to obviously places in the States and Europe. For some reason, it's just California is a place where the people, the vibe, it's just a place I really enjoy.
But that's why I asked this question, because we're all really well traveled, but it's what's that one way there's a pull or a particular sentiment, and I think you've answered it perfectly there, because it's not about it's the most far flung. It's about something that means the most to you.
It was a great experience. Great memories being there, and if I didn't move to London, I think San Diego would have been the other place I would have moved to.
And if you could make any hotel that you've stayed in a home, probably not for pandemic reasons, but just because someone had the opportunity to do that, which hotel would you make a home?
So we're in the Langham, and my favorite afternoon tea, because I love doing afternoon teas, I've gone around London and I'm trying to do as many hotel afternoon teas as I possibly can. So the Langham is my favorite afternoon tea. However, it would actually be a place in London, and it's the Hotel Cafe Royal. They've got a bar there, the Green Bar, which I'm a really big fan of. Before the pandemic, they had a bar upstairs, which was Ziggy's, which is where David Bowie actually partied after his last concert as Ziggy Stardust. The rooms there are just wonderful. The Oscar Wilde room, if you've ever been in there, which is great for their afternoon teas as well, which is close to one of my favorites as well. It's the staff, everything is just it really feels like a unique experience. The spa is wonderful. It's a place I really enjoy.
Do you know what? As a Londoner born and raised, I do sometimes take it for granted, like how many great hotels we have here and how much history is in each of them. Like, and it's funny you mentioned about afternoon tea at the Langham, because I believe this is the first place that was opening afternoon tea outside of the royal palaces.
Correct, it was.
Which blows my mind as well. But yeah, I love all of those stories. There's so many properties around the city where they have these historic stories, and the luxury is one thing, but then the DNA underneath that luxury.
It is the DNA, because it's funny. I was thinking, okay, so is it a place that I've been to in Singapore and some of the nice new modern hotels, places I've been to in New York, great places, but it is that history. Corinthia is another one where I really enjoy that, and they have those types of things. But you know, before I moved to London, I was able to spend a lot of time, and I would travel and I try different hotels. It's just, even when I live in London, I still may have the occasional getaway to the Hotel Cafe Royal and do that for a weekend. Next,
I'd like you to reimagine your job and basically the idea of organising an incentive. Everybody in the industry is constantly creating these once-in-a-lifetime experiences for their clients. But if you could organise an incentive for yourself, where would it be? What would you do? And which celebrity would you take with you?
So this is an easy one for me. So my celebrity would be Bruce Springsteen.
Nice.
So I'm a fan and have been since probably longer than I care to remember. I travel around and I get to see him at various venues around the world. I think I'm in my 70s for the number of times I've seen him in concert. Rookie compared to a lot of people who see him. But then a car trip. I want my music. I want the windows open. I want the top down if it's a convertible. I want to listen to some music, and I want to drive, whether that's from places in Europe, going into Amsterdam and the Netherlands would be great, or literally going up the California coast and just going up from San Diego all the way up to Seattle. I just love the car, the freedom, what it represents, and then being able to tell stories and then turn the music up, have it loud, listen, stop at the worst diners that you can possibly imagine that have the best stories with the best food. I think the experiences for me, while places are great, it's about the people.
Yeah.
And that's where I find I really get a lot of joy and comfort out of, those. And stopping randomly and staying at the worst motel possible. My wife and I have done that several times, and it's such a unique experience because you don't know what you're going to get, and I love the ambiguity of the whole experience.
Yeah, I think that would be a great TV show. You and Bruce on the road, stopping in the worst motels possible.
Yeah, I would love. I mean, obviously, a fan. I'd love to be able to do that. But I just think the stories that people have is what makes them them, and whether they're famous or not. But just admire the way he conducts himself and his life and his work. I think that it's an easy one for me.
It's funny as well that your first ever work trip was on the road, and your ideal incentive trip would be back on four wheels again. So,
yeah, it's taken me a while to get used to driving on the other side of the road here, on the other side of the car here. But there's a sense of freedom, I think, that comes with it. And it talks about movement and mobility and moving forward. And I think there's certain metaphors that come with it. And it's a place where my mind can be free.
So the final part of the podcast is a quick fire round where I want you to react to these questions just off the top of your head.
Okay.
Okay.
Do I need legal to review?
No, you'll be fine. I might slip one in there just to catch up. No.
Fair enough.
Okay. Packing, last minute or the week before?
Last minute.
Carry-on or check-in?
Check-in.
Airport lounge or shopping?
Airport lounge.
Aisle or window seat?
Aisle.
I love that. That was dedication.
No, without a doubt. Aisle, first row, fire exit if possible.
See, I'm a window.
Oh, no, man. Claustrophobic. I couldn't. I had to do it once coming back from Singapore with a member of our team for 8 hours. And she was in the middle and I was in the window, and we were both not enjoying the flight.
Yeah. You like to be able to get out.
Exactly.
City or nature?
City.
Lay-in or early start?
Early start.
Poolside or seaside?
Seaside.
Planned or spontaneous?
Spontaneous.
Breakfast, hot or cold?
Cold.
You thought about that one though for a second.
Yeah, because I was like, what would I have that's hot? Cold, I'm like, yeah, just give me some yogurt and some grains and I'm good with that.
Yeah, see, I'm like, I need it to be hot. Yeah.
I don't even drink coffee or tea, right? Which is odd when I go for my afternoon teas. I don't usually have the tea. I just want everything else that goes with it.
You just want the ambience.
Yeah, I do, yeah.
And finally, hotel, room service or hotel restaurant?
Room service.
There we go. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast. And as I said, you did not disappoint.
I appreciate that. Glad I didn't.